and most people don't realise that. There's many different types of feminism, but they all have the same root. There's a huge spectrum of different types of feminism, but the same root is the fact they talk about the patriarchy. And if they look, their version of history is that men have always suppressed women. The truth is that the landowners tend to have suppressed most people. Most people were peasants. And most people think men had the vote and women didn't. Well, no, men didn't have the vote. You had to be a landowner. And it wasn't that long ago. And women were brought in afterwards. It was the suffragists, not the suffragettes, who brought in voting, first of all, for men, and then women. And the war has a lot to do with it, the First World War. And most... They're equal in value, yes. But so, I mean, I'm no... For example, what is equality? Equality says everyone's equal, but nothing in this universe is equal. We're all different. And there's reasons why we're different. It doesn't mean that women aren't allowed opportunities some men might have. I think everyone should have the opportunity to do something if they're showing the ability to do it. But we shouldn't be putting quotas in where people don't, whether it's to do with race or gender or sexuality or anything. We don't look at, most people don't know how things that affect men that don't affect women, and you only need to look at the homeless situation or the mental health or jail or anything like that, prison, the amount of men in prison. And we tend to have leniency because most people do care more about women than we do men. It's a biological thing.
What's your story? You've been let down in the past?
No, I grew up in a dysfunctional family, and I was in care as well from a very dysfunctional family, and it's generational, families that don't function well. And the woman who started the first shelter for battered women, she says it's not a gendered problem, domestic violence, it's a generational problem of violent families. And we overlook the fact that women can be violent as well. And by saying that, it doesn't mean you hate women. It's just talking about one of those things. We know some men are violent. So it's about dealing with this. But unfortunately, it's made political, and there's a lot of people with very well-paid professional, academic, and political feminists who do not respect the family. And to be quite honest, I don't think they like women. I think they think being born female is a booby prize. I don't think they realise that being a woman is actually a good thing. They want to be more like rich men, and most men aren't rich, or powerful men. Most men aren't powerful. They have this delusion where all men are supermen and all women are an underdog, or Cinderella, and it's not true.
Well, you got an audience now.
Yeah.
You can tell that.
I'm looking down at the ground again, and good afternoon. Hello, I'm a men's rights activist. Men and women are people, feminism's an ideology, and I believe it's done a lot of damage to our society. And I'm not a traditionalist. I think everyone should have opportunities to do what they want to do in life. I don't believe in the quotas. I think people should be able to, who have the job should be able to. There's plenty of business. Hey, feminism's about power. Feminism's about power for certain women, not the average woman. A lot of feminists are extremists, and they want equality when they want it. Okay, thank you. Have a good day. They want equality when it suits them, but they don't want the negative things that comes with being a man or a working class man. And most of them, I don't think they like women. I think they think being a woman is something less. A lot of these feminists do.
Do you believe in equality?
Hey?
Do you believe in equality?
Equality is a funny word. I think that everyone is important. Nothing in this universe is equal. It's all different. And it's different for a reason. Men and women complement each other. It doesn't mean that a woman can't do a job that a man does. But there are masculine women and feminine males. I know it's a clumsy way of putting it, but not everyone fits in, to what stereotypes are. And when I'm talking like this, there are a lot of generalizations because I'm talking about a pretty big subject which isn't often spoken about. But most people don't realize the amount of money that a lot of professional feminists make. And a lot of those slogans and statistics they put out aren't based in fact. They're cherry-picked. I mean, two of the biggest charities and get nearly £300 million a year. The shelter charities, and yet the woman who started battered women's shelters, Erin Pizzey, she was thrown out many years ago, and she doesn't agree with it. She says domestic violence isn't a gendered problem; it's a generational problem of violent families, and she's completely right.
There is a lot of domestic violence from men to women.
And there's a lot of domestic violence from women to men. The biggest, there is. The biggest study was done in 2013. The biggest study ever, and it's just been ignored. And the Duluth model from America, which talks about domestic violence, is fraudulent. Just because I'm saying that, it doesn't mean that I think that if you've got a violent man against some who's a predator towards his wife with either psychological or physical violence, I'm not making excuses for that. I'm saying it goes both ways, and you need to look at it to see it. And you won't see it in the mainstream because there's too many people invested in it. See, your friend or your partner there, she doesn't like this because she thinks that I'm being offensive or uncaring. I'm not. No, I'm not. Erin Pizzey, when she first started the first shelter, the first 100 battered women she got in there, she said 62 of them were as violent as the men. I can barely hear you, sorry. You're not wasting your breath. No, you are, because you can't cope with what we're talking about. Okay. Because it offends you. The truth offends her. The truth offends a lot of people, actually.
What brings you out to fight the good cause on a day like this?
Well, we come out every fortnight. We've been doing it years.
Reader, please.
And she thinks that I'm disregarding female victims of domestic violence. I'm not. The people who disregard it are the people that make a lot of the money out of it.
I didn't hear you say anything that was unfair.
Well, she may have, she's either been, a lot of women are brought up with hearing this and they take it offensively, or she may have had a relationship that was not a good one. But what a lot of women do is they don't look at their part in it. And often in domestic violence, most domestic violence goes both ways. And yet if you said, well, they think it's blaming the victims who actually question the one who said that they're on the receiving end of it. And it can be, but